You are not a real man. Let me say it again for the ones in the back. You are not a real man. Now, depending on how you are raised, this may come off as quite shocking. But it's time to unmask toxic masculinity and reveal the harmful truth. It's no secret that men tend to die earlier than women. We know this. We have known this for a while. And most of us have heard at least one theory about why this is the case. Maybe it's because men tend to engage in more risky behavior. Maybe it's because they don't take care of themselves properly. Or maybe it's because they don't seek out help when they need it. There may be some truth to all these theories, but they only scratch the surface of a much deeper problem, one that starts right from the moment we're born. When boys are born, they are immediately separated from their mothers and given to their fathers. At least that's what happens in most Western countries. In some other parts of the world, the child stays with the mother. But the point remains the same. Boys are almost always separated from their mothers at birth, while girls typically stay with theirs. This separation teaches boys from a very young age that they do not belong with the mother, that they should avoid her. And if they do end up needing her comfort, they're told that big boys don't need a mommy, or they might even get punished for crying. They learn that being weak is bad. This lesson is reinforced as they grow older. When they reach school age, boys are put into classes where they are mostly surrounded by other boys who have been taught the same thing. Boys are sorted into groups where they compete against one another for status and dominance. This competition is encouraged both by teachers and parents, who tell them things like, "Man up, stop being a baby," or "Don't cry." Over time, boys begin to identify with these labels. They think that being a real man means they can't cry, that they can't show weakness, and that they must always be in control. As they become adults, they carry these beliefs with them into adulthood, and they will continue to be labeled and punished if they display any vulnerability. Toxic masculinity tells us that a real man is stoic and unemotional, that he puts his needs before those of others, and that he is willing to do anything to maintain his status as an alpha male. It tells us that we shouldn't rely on others, and that we should never let them see us sweat. But what does the research say? How true is this idea of toxic masculinity? What do studies tell us about what being a real man actually means? According to research, toxic masculinity is not just a product of our imagination. It is a real phenomenon that has serious consequences. A study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that men who adhere to traditional masculine norms are more likely to suffer from mental health problems. These men are less likely to seek help for these problems, which means they often go untreated. Another study published in the British Journal of Psychology found that men who conform to traditional masculine norms are more likely to engage in risky behavior, such as drunk driving and fighting. A third study published in the journal, Men and Masculinities, found that men who subscribe to rigid gender roles are more likely to be violent towards women. So what does this mean? It means that what society tells us is a real man is actually a harmful myth. A myth that teaches boys that they shouldn't cry, that they shouldn't rely on others, and that they should always be in control. A myth that leads men to be less likely to seek help for mental health problems, more likely to engage in risky behavior, and more likely to be violent towards women. But why is this the case? Why does toxic masculinity exist, and why do so many men believe it? The answer, unfortunately, is quite simple. Toxic masculinity exists because it benefits society. It benefits society because it allows men to be seen as less than human, as disposable. It allows us to pit men against each other and distract them from the bigger picture. Let's take a step back and look at history. For centuries, men have been pitted against one another in wars and conflicts that have resulted in the deaths of millions. Men have been turned into killing machines who are willing to do anything to win, even kill other men who are just like them. Why? Because society tells us that men are expendable, that they are nothing more than pawns in a game that only the most ruthless can win. And it's not just in war where men are pitted against each other. It's in everyday life as well. Men are often pitted against each other in the workplace. They're told that they must be competitive, that they must be the best, or they're nothing. They are retold that they must always put their needs first, and that they must never let others see them sweat. As a result, men are less likely to collaborate and more likely to compete. They're less likely to help each other and more likely to stab each other in the back. So what can we do to change this? How can we unmask toxic masculinity and create a better world for ourselves and our children? The first step, as with most things, is education. We need to teach boys from a young age that they are more than their gender role. We need to teach them that it's okay to cry, that it's okay to ask for help, and that it's okay to be vulnerable. We also need to teach them that they are not disposable, that they are not less than human. We need to teach them that they are valuable, that they are loved, and that they matter. Of course, this is easier said than done. We live in a society that glorifies toxic masculinity, a society that rewards men for being stoic and unemotional, for putting their needs before those of others, and for being willing to do anything to maintain their status as an alpha male. But we can start by being positive role models for the boys in our lives. We can show them that it's okay to be vulnerable, and that it doesn't make us any less of a man. We can also support organizations that are doing the same. For example, one such organization is the Campaign Against Living Miserably, also known as CALM. CALM is a charity that aims to prevent male suicide. They provide information and support to men who are struggling to cope. They also run campaigns to raise awareness of the issue. Another great organization is the Movember Foundation. Movember is an international men's health organization. They focus on men's physical and mental health issues, such as prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and mental health problems. These are just two examples. There are many other organizations out there doing great work to unmask toxic masculinity. So I encourage you to do some research and find the ones that resonate with you. Donate to them, volunteer your time, or simply spread the word. We cannot continue down this path. We cannot continue to allow boys to be separated from their mothers at birth. We cannot continue to allow them to be pitted against each other in schools and workplaces. We must do everything we can to create a world where boys are allowed to be vulnerable, where they re-encouraged to seek help, and where they re-reminded that they more than their gender role. So remember, you are not a real man, not the kind that society wants you to be. You are so much more than that. You are a human being with feelings and emotions. You are a valuable and loved member of society, and you deserve all the happiness and success life has to offer. That's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.